All right, so let's just get right into it. So how are you holding up, man? How do you think your family's holding up? How do you think everything's going on so far?
Well, there's a lot of layers to this. Certainly, when this hit the second week in March, and the reality became, you guys can't come back into school for a little while. I think everyone thought 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, whatever it's going to be. Not sure that anybody actually planned for you ain't coming back at all this year, and we're starting to talk about the summer and maybe next fall. So I think that as this evolves and as this grows, we're all trying to deal with it in our own way. For everyone that's watching us that has not been trapped in Western New York for the last 2 months. The fact that we had some pretty bad weather did not contribute a whole lot to, I guess, the vibe and the feel in the house. But in the last couple of days, I think the corner is turning in a lot of ways. I'm adjusting to homeschooling my kids. I'm adjusting to the idea that I can actually go outside and take the dog for a walk and not wear a winter coat right now. And certainly, I think the really important thing for us has been establishing routines. The routine for me pretty much is I get up at 7:30, I do an hour and a half of schoolwork, I help my daughters with their schoolwork, and then by the time we're at lunchtime, we can do what we want to for the rest of the day. But it took a long time for us really to get into that kind of rhythm of how do we all kind of fulfill our professional obligations and also the school obligations that the kids have.
Yeah, definitely. How do you think the kids are adjusting to this? And have you had conversations with them and their parents as well, or nothing
I've
like
had more
that?
conversations with kids than I have had with parents.
Hmm.
And I'm out and about in the neighborhood, and I've got kids that I teach in 11th grade. 2 doors down from me, I've got a kid that I teach in 11th grade. And we've been holding once a week meetings with the AP students for the last 2 months, and once every 2 weeks with everyone else. And we're getting pretty good participation, pretty good turnout in those meetings. The kids that really weren't doing a whole lot of work throughout the course of the year have not really connected with us in the last couple of months. But the kids who have been pretty responsible about getting their work done have been there the entire way with us. And a lot of what I'm feeling is what I'm hearing from them also. Just man, this stinks. I can't work
Oh
out. I
yeah.
can't play spring sports. I can't do this and this. I just think this is an entire graduating class, an entire junior class that will not experience the actual ceremony of walking across the stage,
Hmm.
that will not experience prom or ball or some of those milestone things. And I've even been wondering, because I've taught juniors forever, being 17, there's certain checkpoints in your life,
Yeah.
like taking your road test. And I just wonder, so many of those things have been interrupted right now. But I'd like to think from what I'm seeing right now that everyone is still trying to put a good face on this and a good spin on this and trying to hang in there and just appreciate what they can do right now and not really dwell on what they can't do.
Yeah, and Joey B, you have two like very young daughters. I was curious, like, how it's working now? Because when you're a father with two young daughters, you want them to go outside, experience what's going on.
Yeah.
How have you been transitioning, fathering them now at this time period?
Well, I got to tell you, and thank you for the question. My daughters are in fourth grade and second grade, so yeah, that's we've been at that point where this would normally be. Bus shows up at 7 o'clock, brings you back home at 2:25 in the afternoon, and that's all gone right now. On the one hand, for me, it's been kind of challenging. Like I haven't done fourth grade math in about 35 years, and I'm trying to kind of coach my daughter through fourth grade math right now in this process. But the outdoors aspect is so important right now. We've been trying to build in that there are at least three required exercise times every single day that you have to accomplish. That could be a scooter, it could be a walk, it could be a bike ride, it could be we drive somewhere. We've been going to Owaka Creek Park in Scottsville. We've been driving
Hmm.
down to Paper Mill Falls and Avon, which is fantastic, both for social distancing and for what's actually available. But that's really been a challenge, is making sure that our kids are getting enough physical activity. I don't think they appreciated how active you actually are during a school day when you're
Definitely.
in a
Yeah.
classroom, when you're doing
Yeah.
different things, and it's walking back and forth between places. It's the energy that you burn talking with your friends. And not having that around right now, what we've been trying to do is make sure that there's those required things that have to happen every day to keep them physically active.
Yeah, definitely. And how do you think the whole going back to like kids in school, high school, college, even, how do you think that pass fail thing is turning out to be? And what do you think going forward should be the next step?
Well, I got to tell you, a lot of what is happening right now is very, very new. And in fact, we've had some changes actually in the last 24 hours about how we're supposed to be grading things. I think that we really have lowered the standards significantly.
Mhm.
And that if you really are willing to do just a little bit, we're going to find a way for everyone to get through and move on. If you're a junior, become a senior. If you're a senior, you get to move on and go to college. Um, there are times where I feel a little bit dirty, like I'm kind of watering down the course that I teach because I mean I'm putting lessons together today with my good friend Mr. Nuds for U.S. history, and the things that I would otherwise be teaching, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush. An 80-minute lesson is difficult to boil down to uh, a paragraph reading and a couple questions you
Mhm.
got to answer afterwards. Because obviously, you guys know from being in the classroom with me, a lot of what we do in there is based on the communication that goes on back and forth, either from me directly to you or me being able to check up on what you're doing on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And I'm missing that. I can't look over the shoulder of a kid doing their work right now. I can't tell if the answer to question number 3 is correct until you submit it 2 weeks from now. And you know, those are the types of things that I think are challenging in terms of us as teachers trying to push out instruction. But I think the school district has done what is probably the most responsible thing in this entire process, which is there are certain minimum things that you have to do if we're going to award you course credit, and we're not going to overload you at this point.
Mhm.
We've been given the directive that we are not allowed to give more than 2 hours of work per course per week.
Mhm.
Because you know, think about it. And high school kids are taking 6 or 7 courses right now, and if everyone's piling that work on, it's going to seem like an
Yeah.
actual school day when we don't have the opportunity to provide feedback. We don't have an opportunity to quiz on a daily basis and really check in with what you're doing. So even though it seems like kind of a minimum standard, I think our school district has been very responsible in what they've asked us as teachers to do and how we're actually recording that progress. It is a little bit different. There is no such thing as a quarter 3 grade or a quarter 4 grade.
Yeah.
What is pass? What does fail mean? And looking at the language that we have right now, it pretty much is pass means you did what we asked you to do at like the lowest level of proficiency. Fail,
Definitely.
Yeah.
you turned it in, it was terrible. And then there's always that incomplete that's out there, which means you didn't even try the darn thing in the first place. I think we've tried to really create a structure in which we want to do the most responsible thing for the most kids, and that's make sure that everyone gets a step closer to what they want to do next year, and we don't let this or the procedure or the disease get in the way.
Yeah, definitely. So me and Amit were also having a conversation on how colleges are handling this. So Amit, let us know how UB is handling this as compared to what I'm going through with RIT.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So the tough thing with UB is like it's all online, obviously, and there's been like a complete disconnect with the professors. And pretty much, I feel like I'm on an island doing my own thing now. I got the textbook. They tell you do your work, and then like to do this time. And sure, they've been lenient, saying okay, you can do a week late, here's some extra credit, and that's nice. But like, I feel like this at this point in college is the least I've ever learned. At least before in classrooms, I felt like I was getting something from the teachers. But now it's like, okay, let me just get this turned in at time. Let me go back in bed and lay down. I just feel like I'm just trying to pass this course, and it's a little frustrating as a student. I don't know how
Yeah,
RIT is treating it.
yeah, same
It
thing
might
with
be
me.
similar or not.
RIT has been kind of lenient as well, letting us know. A good thing for me, I've had good professors this semester, so they've been very lenient. They took out some assignments, throw in some easy assignments, so it helped boost our grades. And I know some friends in RIT that actually failed some courses because of online, and they were just like, "We were not prepared for
Yeah,
this. We didn't pay for this." But it is what it is. They can't do anything else above this. So it's something that they just had to write out, and so you just have to feel bad for them because obviously no one signed up for this, but everyone has to go through it.
right. And what I was curious about was the difference between like college and high school is I feel like college with professors you're much more disconnected. I feel like high school inside and outside of the classroom depends on the face-to-face time with high school
Yeah.
teachers. So Joey B, I was curious for like going forward in the fall semester. Do you think how like the high schools handle it currently is like just like the standard? This is how it's going to be next semester, and also going forward if this like scarily like continues. or is there something you'd like to see change, maybe implement a new like method of teaching if we're
Right.
going online Zoom University?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about in that question right there, and if you'll give me a couple minutes, I'll try to go through all those things.
Of course.
First of all, what I want more than anything else is to get back to what school has always looked like throughout the duration of my career, and that is 20 plus kids show up, they sit in a desk in my classroom, and we get that face-to-face interaction. We develop that routine of, we're going to meet every other day, you've got homework, I'm going to grade that work and do things back and forth. And one of the things that I guess we're going to have to come to grips with is what will actually be the standard that allows us to do that. Because if you guys know, obviously, and you've been watching the same news that I have, in the middle of March, it was flatten the curve, flatten the curve. And once we do that, we get to a place where we can worry about not social distancing, we can open things back up again. And now that the curve has been flattened, I feel like the goal line has been moved a little bit, because now they're talking about we can't do this until we have testing and tracing and all those different things. And it's got a lot of us talking about, again, that idea of what the physical building looks like for us at Rush Henrietta, or for you at UB and RIT. What does the physical building look like? Are we going to require that classrooms are going to have students 8 feet apart wearing face masks go back in September? And if that's the case, then I can only have, from a geographic standpoint, maybe 8 to 10 kids per class in my room. So does it mean that you show up, Fahad, on A days and Amit shows up on B days, and we have to stagger it in some way? And I got to tell you, I don't want to be involved in putting that schedule together to try to figure out make that work. I think we're learning an awful lot about what the capabilities of online things are and what they aren't. And keep in mind, like, we're doing this right now. Like, we have the opportunity, like, we've got the free time, we have the technology, we have the availability to do this stuff. I have maybe a dozen students that I've had no contact with whatsoever since we left on March 13th. And for some of them, and as silly as this might actually seem to those of us in the connected world, there are people that, honest to goodness, don't have wireless internet access. They don't have a device to actually do this thing that we're doing right now. And there is something to the idea of us having to physically meet in person. One of the other things, and this is maybe going a little bit off of the conversation a little bit, is that what we know as teachers is that for a lot of the kids that we teach, we are the most responsible adults that our students see on a daily basis. When they leave us and they go back into their own homes, there's obviously a difference in what that looks like. We are where breakfast and lunch happens. It's where your friends are. It's safe for 8 hours when you're in our building right now. And not everyone has that opportunity when they leave the school doors. So for those reasons, I really hope that we are going to get the go-ahead in September to do what I've always known as school. But again, I think we're going to find out in the next maybe 2 to 4 weeks. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. What's essential? Do we see a spike in cases in our region? Does it continue to go down? And we've got to be conscious also of what neighboring states are doing too. Just because we're in a good position doesn't mean that Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, because you can cross the border, nobody's stopping you at the state line right there. So I think there's a lot of things that are in play, and I'm not elected to public office, and I don't ever want to be in a position to have to make these decisions. But admit, I think without question, there's going to be a reconsideration of what the physical building of school means going forward, and at least the opening of the conversation of, do we have to have an 8-hour school day for high school students? Because you guys know in college, and you pick off the menu, and if you're savvy enough, I'm going to be in class for 3 hours on Monday and 1 hour on Tuesday, and I'm going to have my Fridays off and have a long weekend. And I think we're all going to have to start to ask the question, have what we've been doing forever that we considered normal, is that really what we need to be doing going forward?